First of all, dear Saurabh Arora, the founder and CEO of University Living, welcome. Hana Chapate, is it the correct way to pronounce? Shapat, I'm sorry. CEO of Hybrid, all right. Welcome. And Vice President of Amber Student, dear David Seymour, welcome. And Fabiano Matos, Product and Operations Manager of Student Travel Bureau, welcome. And dear Umang, Gandecha, the Executive Director of Londonist Global, as all you know. Dear Richard Dow, Associate Director of Chapman Taylor, welcome. And dear Vicky Chang, a Vice President of uhomes. Thank you very much for coming. So, as I said, we're going to talk about the factors impacting student accommodations. As all you know, the industry has been evolving and shaping in many different ways. So, with all these experts here on the stage, we're going to discuss some questions, some subjects. So my first question is going to be the current market trends. Let's say, what are the current market trends in the student accommodation sector and how have they evolved in the past years? Let's start with you, Sayıner.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I hope we are all awake. It was a good, heavy lunch. Yeah. So, thank you for asking this, and everyone, thank you for being around and giving this opportunity. So I guess, it's been 12 years, I've been part of this amazing, ever-growing, evolving sector. And in last 12 years, it has seen a sea change, trends and patterns. So from someone looking for just a house, now, everyone looking for just not house, but home. Just not home, but community, and just not bed and table. They're looking for overall wholesome experience. So that's what students been asking. And on an operator side of it, on platform like University Living side of it, we are just beyond just a booking platform. Now it's just not transactions. It's experience, it's overall full journey, what students, our partners, our institutions been looking for. So last 10 years been amazing learning. You mentioned you're an expert. I don't know about others. I am a learner for PBSA, so I'm still learning. So for me, it will be a great platform to learn from all the experts. So yeah, this is to start with. Last 10 years, the patterns are from just not bed, but more inclusive accommodation, and just not price point, but locations, overall well-being, connectivity, right? Of course, technology is being now given, So, but if what students expect that how platforms or our industry provide technology with a human touch, because eventually we are still dealing with 18, 19-year-old young chap or a girl traveling miles away from their hometown. So too much to be done. So yeah.
Can you give any example of their specific needs that you haven't experienced in the past? Maybe you've seen, especially after pandemics, maybe that might be a milestone in terms of the expectations. So can you give us any example out of that?
See, in last 10 years, and whatever few thousand students we've been assisting yearly basis, there were earlier students were looking for housing close to their university's price point. Now they're looking for value for money. Right, and there are so many examples wherein students are shortlisting a house or accommodation basis, what kind of career support they are providing, what kind of extracurricular, platforms and events any particular platform or accommodation is providing. So yeah, it's become very personalized, and then people are looking for value for money. They're not shying away to pay money. They are okay to pay higher prices or a dynamic pricing, but they need to be well articulated that why we are booking one accommodation over other, and it's just not about beds and table. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Sayıner. Dear David, would you like to add anything?
Thanks for having us, everyone. And I think there's a number of factors that are looking at trends at the moment, and one of them is in the UK, especially. You've got an oversupply a very large amount of demand with a low supply marketplace, and the migration levels that we see at the moment are increasing, coming into the UK, as well as domestic traffic into the UK. And so you have a deficit, and that's a challenge to not only students, but also providers and marketplaces. So what you'll find is that the forecasts are about a 650,000 deficit by 2026. So when you look at the HMO market, where there's 835,000 HMOs, and PBSA is about 725,000 beds, what you have is students that cannot find accommodation. And that becomes a housing crisis. Now, for platforms, it means that sometimes the operators think that we're surplus to requirement. But actually, that isn't the case, and the landscape can change very quickly. And I think, to Saurabh's point, in terms of value and showing a different opportunity to be able to support the operators, that's going to be a key factor. And we see a change now in booking habit, not just what people are looking for, because it's a consumer market.
So what's the new booking habits of the students? How do you see it?
It's the timing more than anything else. So we know, there's a slowdown in China coming into the UK. There's a massive increase in developing countries. India is huge coming into the UK now. It's just about to overtake China in the next 2 to 3 years. And we see Nigeria, Malaysia, and Pakistan, a lot more students wanting to come to the UK. And traditionally they book later because they think it's the right thing to do. They wait until they get their visas and things like that. And what the Chinese agencies have done really well over the years is to educate the market to book earlier. And that's what you see. So you see domestic students and Chinese students booking very early. And the education that we're putting in is for, we represent 160 different nationalities in those source countries. And so we're educating all of those markets to book early, because if they don't, they will not get aid availability, but also the prices are going up and up and up. And there's the moral dilemma that a lot of operators don't seem to have, but we do, because we're looking after the student, is their pricing themselves right up. So it will become a very elitist position for students coming in that can afford it, so they can get their places. And that, we have a moral compass. We want to be able to look after students at every price point. So there's some challenges associated to that.
Speaking of the prices, I would like to give the microphone to dear Umang. So from Londonist DMC. So how do you see the factors that impacting student accommodation business?
Yeah, I mean, interesting points there about pricing and then booking times. I think this year we've always found, again, students booking extremely late and struggling to find availability. And as David just mentioned there, the pricing, we have dynamically priced, and it's an interesting topic. I think London's always a key hub for students, right? But we don't want to price students out of having accommodation or looking away from London due to the prices. And I think here at Londonist, obviously, we do short-term and long-term accommodation, so 2 weeks up to 51 weeks. But I think the future trends are students are booking earlier now. I think that trend is turning 360 again now. Students are actually finding that, look, if I'm not booking earlier, or rebookers, for example, I mean, this year we had around 40% of our rebookers book straight away as soon as we launched. And we're due to launch next year in a few weeks. And I think we already see students actually looking to book early, get the best prices, and the most important thing is get the best room types. It's not just about pricing, because in London, students are looking for a specific type of room in a specific location. So for example, if I say King's Cross, that's always the property that goes straight off the market. And Fabiano sitting here next to me, she's always saying, Umang, I want to book King's Cross, I want to book King's Cross. And if the students don't book early enough, they're going to miss the opportunity, right? So I think for us, it's kind of, again, as Saurabh mentioned, educating the market. I think education is key, but I think education is a timely process because we're dealing with multiple markets. So you've got your traditional late bookers, you've got your early bookers, but I think you cannot specify one market as early or late. It really just depends on the student, the demographic, what the markets are doing. But I think for us at Londonist, obviously, we spoke about the different types of things to incentivize students to book early. But I really see the market actually coming 360 again. It already has. And yeah, I think the one about pricing, I think someone else can answer. I think it's an interesting topic about pricing. I mean, we're not a provider, right? But we intentionally set the prices. We can set the prices. So we've had a lot of interesting conversations with a lot of industry leaders, the likes of English UK, Beta, and at the end of the day, we are providing the service for the students. Everyone wants to make money, everyone wants to make profit, but at the end of the day, we're here to provide accommodation for students. So we've actually got a very important role in the industry.
Yeah. Basically, as Londonist DMC, you observe all the dynamics, all the factors, and also you take action, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's key. I mean, that's key to our business, observing multiple markets, multiple nationalities that are coming. Also, the other market players in the industry, you know, it's key for us to see what's happening. And I think there's no industry that's moving as fast as ours. You know, there's so many multiple factors in our industry, whether it be visas, countries, pricing. We also talk about, for example, the economics. You know, we always talk about sustainability or eco-friendly accommodation. I mean, we were talking about co-living, you know, this kind of space. So there's a lot of different dynamics in our industry that I think everyone really needs to understand and kind of train themselves and position themselves well in the market.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, dear Umang. Speaking of sustainability, dear Umang was in New York City at a meeting with Mayor of New York City, Eric Adams, and attended the session, the panel about sustainability. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So, dear Vicky, I would like to also ask you, how do you see the factors from point of your view that's impacting accommodation business?
You know, there are many factors impacting the student accommodation sector. For this couple of years, like David mentioned earlier, we've seen a massive trend where the accommodation is really short. Demand from all those different markets in Asia and Africa is increasing significantly. So that changes the the way that students looking for accommodation. uhomes is the expert of Chinese student market, and we can say that Chinese students are even more keen and even earlier in terms of trying to find the right accommodation for them. So we've seen the trend where the new season has not even started, but the students start to queuing up for the accommodation in the hot cities like Southampton or Glasgow, etc. So student behavior is changing, and then also what we have seen in the sector, which is really positive, is about the technology efforts that every single company has been making to this sector, especially from the marketplace perspective, which is something that we are very familiar with. We have seen marketplace making trying to streamline the process and making the whole finding the whole process of finding and securing accommodation much easier, like easy applications, and we have seen marketplace trying to make sure that the students will be able to see that different options when the supply is really short, and everyone is trying to diversify from what they are what they initially are specialized in. So, for example, uhomes. We in the past we always focus on PBSA, but since that we have seen the short in the supply, we have been working tremendously trying to get those diversified property portfolio, such as HMO, built to rent, co-living, etc.
Thank you very much. So speaking of the factors impacting the business, maybe we should go deep down to the expectations of the students. So dear Hannah, how do you see the near-term expectations of the students?
I think with rising rent, so in the UK last year we saw the highest ever dropout rates across UK universities, just under 10%, and that's because of financial concerns and housing issues. And with the rates, the rising rents, what we're seeing in terms of trends is we're seeing higher expectations. Now students are having to pay more. They're not happy to kind of just, okay, if the boiler breaks, we'll let it go. They go in and they expect that kind of hotel level of service, that kind of build to rent level of service in the purpose-built and even in the HMO market. So I think that's going to be a big shift in terms of bringing in that hospitality trends into the student sector, because with those rising rents, expectations are rising. And if we're just looking at Gen Z, I think it's quite interesting to think about Gen Z versus millennials. Millennials are known as being entrepreneurial, quite confident in their decision making, whereas Gen Z are very prone to anxiety, and they are risk averse. And that's really important to keep in mind when we're thinking about that booking process, because they go into that rental market on the back foot. They think they're going to get taken advantage of. They've read all over the press about students getting exploited in scams. So they really need to get their hands held throughout that process, understand what's coming next, what are the expectations. And one thing interesting about Gen Z compared to millennials is that they really value that face-to-face time. So again, thinking about that community and how we can build that within our buildings and rethinking about how we use spaces, it's really important to think about what Gen Z have gone through COVID, how they're more anxious, how they value that face-to-face time. And also with the call-out generation on TikTok, on Instagram, we saw that with so many different movements. PBSA and every part of the housing sector is going to be held accountable. If anything happens, they will put that online and that can go viral. So it's really important about having those, raising the standards of the kind of student rental markets to meet those expectations.
But as you said, after the pricing, probably those hospitality services are the secondary expectations, right?
My kind of main point there is that if you're going to be charging a higher rent, then the service needs to meet that rent service. So if you're going to pay more, then you're going to expect more. If the rent's going to be slightly less and it's going to be more of an HMO feel, then your expectations will be slightly lower. It kind of has to match.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Sure.
She really touched upon a very interesting point, and I was smiling because I believe I'm a millennial, and the traits you have mentioned about millennials and Gen Z, I believe it's totally opposites, right? Because I believe it's totally opposite in my limited understanding. Whereas, at least the market we are dealing with, the students are very confident. They know what they are looking for. Right, and they are not looking for bullshit. They are very clear that, okay, if you're paying this, we need this room, this type room, And whereas when we went to study in UK and other part of the globe, we were like, okay, we need a house, and even we can go there and we'll find one. At least that didn't happen with us, and that's what got us in this business. But Gen Z are very clear, they are very confident, and yes, there are different markets and different strata of society. There are some students who probably been funded by financial institution. Probably they are looking for anything, everything. But most of the PBSA market which we are representing, those students are very clear that they need that corner room, higher floors and specific room type, and they're ready to pay. But if operators and platforms are delivering value, today Gen Z focus a lot on value, and if you're able to narrate and convey the right messaging, they don't mind paying extra, provided we deliver that value and that experience which they are looking for.
So basically, their consciousness is very high. They know what they want.
This generation is an informed decision. It's an informed generation, right? The information right there. right? And we as a operator and a platform or a or enablers in this society or in this ecosystem, we just need to ensure that we are providing them right information and we are facilitating rather than just trying to push them that okay, this is a room right for you. Gone are the days when whether it's education, admission counselors or platform or an operator wherein we can push across anything, everything. So definitely they're very conscious and they're very informed.
Thank you very much. So dear Fabian, so I'm sure you have a lot to say about student expectations.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I work in an agency in Brazil, and as the guy said, China is very early. It's the opposite for Brazil. We are very last-minute market, and as Umang said, it's so everybody wants to stay in this kind of property, in this kind of room. There's been a shift in the market. In the past, we used to have a lot of students that they would like to stay in homestays, but right now, they all want to do in residence, and we know it's limited, so it's a challenge for us. About the expectation of the students, to be honest with you guys, it's not about luxury or modern properties. It's what they're seeking for is a well-kept place, and it's all about expectation. At STB, we have almost 60 branches, so it's very difficult to train them all. And, we have a lot of properties, so it's important for them to understand exactly what the property offers. And as soon as the student is aware of this, we don't have major problems. Of course, they are looking for a safe location and I don't know, a welcoming reception, something like this. A 24-hour reception is always a great thing because, it's not their first language. They are arriving in a different country. And as my colleague said before, they eventually will be homesick, and it's important for them to have a local support.
So what's the top demand you think? So do you see any change in certain expectations which used to happen all the time, but now is different that you can say?
I think the support is very important. So as Londonist is doing this student portal, I think it's very important. Brazilians are very concerned about cleaning. So I don't know, it's maybe one of the most topics about Brazilian students. They always find a place dirty and something like this. So it's important for them to have this first contact with the accommodation services. And I think that's it. I think it's all about expectation, as I said. As soon as, if they know exactly what to receive, we won't have any problems.
I think David has something to say.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think just to add to that is when you look at the expectation of the student, it's not just about the student. We do a lot of surveys, and our data is showing that 97% of the students are looking for location, very close, and then just a small drop off. It goes into a high percentage of price, and then you've got various other services and things like that. But actually, who's making the decision? If you're a father such as me, and you've got kids of that university age, and they're going across the other side of the world, I want to say in where they're going to live, and yes, it's going to be ultimately their decision to a degree, but it is likely that I'll be paying for it. So, and I'll be wanting security. And I want to know that they're going to be living in somewhere there where it's good quality service and looked after. And so, if you ask my daughter, she just want location. Doesn't really. Yes, the price is important, but as long as she's got a very speedy Wi-Fi, she really doesn't care.
She's Gen Z, right?
She's 23, so is that Gen Z?
Not really, right?
Is that next? I've got a 21-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 12-year-old, so I have no idea what they are.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Apart from children.
Thank you. So, dear Richards, so I would like to also hear from you. First, how do you see the factors impacting student accommodation in the entire business from your business view?
Thank you. I think we've been talking very much about the digital and online and virtual world. I'm going to come at this from a very different perspective because we design the physical space. But the comparisons are very real. Well-being, safety, swiftness, making people feel at home, they're all exactly the same thing as what we're trying to do for the physical space. I think also in terms of the sectors that we work in all residential, so built to rent and later living, student residential. What we're finding now is there is a very real merge of the sectors, all hospitality based, and it's dependent on the demand and the requirements of students now. They really want quality spaces with good hospitality-led environments, making them feel safe. And it's not just about the room anymore, it's about the other amenity spaces that you provide for them. Somewhere else, other than the room, they can feel at home and secure, somewhere they can work that's not in their room, somewhere they can socialise. So, you know, once we get a very standardised room design, one that really works, then we can really explore the other options for the other parts of the building to enable the community to flourish.
Thank you very much, Richard. Thanks a lot. So I would like to move to my next question. So, and I'd like to start with you, dear Saurabh. Which UK cities offer good value and why is there such a high demand, you think?
So it's a double layer question. You know, it's depend value to whom. Are we talking about operator, developer, or students or institution? So, or we have time enough to talk all four stakeholders. Yeah. So if it's students, they're looking for value for money. Right? They're looking that they get experience in London, probably in city like Aberdeen. Right? And that can't happen only through student housing or universities. It's overall council needs to be, you know, involved. There lots of things within needs to be involved. You know, last few year trends that people are moving out of London. They are preferring Manchester. They are preferring, you know, town cities like Brighton or Southampton or even new, you know, Belfast and all.
So what are the main reasons they prefer outside of London?
First the other cities are always evolving. You know, there's better universities or high rank. Other universities are also getting ranking better. They are able to provide more value for money for their admission fees and overall experience. Of course, London will be London, right? But then students are moving out of London. There are good and new institutions and courses coming outside London in different universities, right? So all these factors are also, which is good for the ecosystem also. You know, otherwise, you know, one country or one city will get overburdened and the over experience will go haywire and the prices will keep going up. In fact, that's the reason we launched Unionist, which is a flexible stay outside London and covering more cities and countries in future, right? If coming back to your original question, value for probably operators, developers, you know, they need ROI. You know, whether they are getting ROI in London or in Manchester or in Southampton, you know, they need to balance out. You know, I mean, there are lots of properties which needs to be in London because that's their flagship location. But then if they are getting a opportunity to have a better ROI on their investment, you know, they are choosing new cities, and that's how, you know, so many accommodation come in Nottingham. You know, that's how so many accommodation are built up in Sheffield. You know, which is oversupplied. But you know, there is, you know, over a period of time, market forces bring demand and supply back in shape. And this year, we have seen a very strong Sheffield. You know, then if we talk about the value from universities or institution, you know, they need to ensure that student experience is good, you know, and they need to recruit maximum students in their universities. And they can't do if they don't get support from government, operators, developers, platform like us, and over ecosystem. So again, you know, depend upon with whom point of view we are talking about value. But three things which I believe will always be there. Always used to be price, price, price. Then it's location, location, location. Now it's value for money, which includes flexibility, safety, security, and you know, and overall it's a very bullish market. And in Hindi, if I'm allowed to say, you know, there are three things which we talk about: roti, kapda, makan. That is food, clothes, and shelter. And we all know whether it's technology, AI, till the time a human exists, we need these three basic, need for anyone to thrive. So yeah.
And I think expectations are changing from student to student, right? So the price point might be, the first thing that they consider, but on the other hand, there are many other dynamics that affect their decision. So Hannah, what do you think? So do you think London still keeps its popularity? I mean, obviously it does, but like after pandemics especially, do you see any shift between London and other cities?
The reason why people won't go and study in London is very much from affordability perspective, but also the community feel. It's very intimidating studying in London because there isn't that clear campus feel. You're very much lost amongst the young professional market. It's a much more blurred line between professional renting and student renting in London. But the main considerations when we're considering where we're scaling and within HIBA, we look at university rankings in terms of career prospects. So what are the Russell Group universities or the universities that have the highest career prospects, so students can look in and think, okay, I can go and study here and I can get a great career afterwards. The second important factor is looking at, are they investing in the institution? Are they building a new nursing college? Is there a medicine school, engineering capabilities, etc.? Because then you know this is going to be a place to be in the next few years. And the third important factor is, okay, how is the city broken down? Is there a really clear place where first years live, and then second years live, third years mature, master students, etc.? Because that's really easy. It's easier to infiltrate. And again, it's that community feel, so students know where they can go, and it's easier for them to make friends. So I'd say those are kind of the three important factors when considering where students want to go in the best university towns. As well, finally, it's also good to consider the balance between HMO, house shares, within the private landlord bucket, and institutional landlords, purpose-built student accommodation, built to rent and co-living, and understanding how that supply split is within that city, so to ensure that there is enough accommodation, especially for us, because we're all about aggregating across all available homes to students for long-term tenancies and short-term tenancies to ensure there's that accessibility and availability of different types of rooms. So that's the kind of fourth important factor there.
Obviously, there are lots of factors. Yes, thank you very much. So, dear Fabian, so how about you? How do you see the popularity of the locations? Where is the value for the students, at least, let's say, for the Brazilians or the students that you deal with?
No, I agree with the guys. Of course, London is still our main destination in the UK, but most of the students that choose another destination, another city, is of course the price. Brazilians are very price sensitive. Our currency is so low compared to the pound. So it's, of course, it's important for them. And also the location. Sometimes you have to pay, double to be in a walking distance from the school. And sometimes in other cities, for example, you pay half of the price and you're still walking distance. I think price is one of the main factors by choosing another destination. But still, London is everybody, when thinking about the UK, they think about London, and they're seeking for other destinations, and maybe they will change it.
London is London, still, of course. So I would like to continue to my next question with dear Vicky, and let's talk about technology a little bit. I'm sure you also like to talk how technology shapes the entire industry. So Vicky, how do you see it? Because technology is in all over our life, from marketing to student accommodation, to smart buildings, etc. So how do you see that technology is shaping the accommodation business?
Thank you for this question. Technology plays a very vital role in the student housing sector. If we were to compare the hotel sector and student accommodation sector, from the efficiency of the process, the whole streamlining of the workflow, we are quite behind when comparing with the hotel sector. But technology has been transforming the student accommodation sector in many different ways by talking about smart building features. Lots of companies are actually looking for a smarter way, or going for the digitization solution, where if we look at the keyless entry, if we look at the enhanced security, if we look at the way that we get the students to use the digitized way of ordering their laundry, it's improving the student way of living massively. So that's a very positive side. And also, from the marketplace perspective, we have been, all the different companies are putting a lot of efforts and time trying to provide a more efficient way for the student to find and also securing the student accommodation, making an easier application process for the student. If we take an example, IQ has been taking a lead in making the technology advances in a way that students to book their room, and also IQ has been working with different marketplaces trying to offer that instant booking. And besides that, VRs, ARs are all playing a vital tool to make the students, to providing that transparency to the students, what kind of property are suitable to them. And from our perspective, we think the most important solution that we should utilize in technology more is to providing that transparency to the students. We want to be the tool where all the international students can find different options of the property and make easy applications through our platform. So not only we provide them with site plan, the floor plan for the whole building, we provide 100% genuine student reviews, and by restricting those people who haven't booked through our platform, they won't be able to, they are not eligible to make a review. So because the international students are not able to come a long way to view the property in person, so we want to combine the human the human service with the technology solutions to make sure that everything is transparent, and we provide transparency, convenience, and efficient way from different perspectives.
Vicky, you're wonderful, really. Thank you very much. So, dear Richards, I would like to also hear from you. How do you think the technology is shaping accommodation business?
I think it's worth answering this in three different ways, really, because technology is affecting us in design, in construction, and in operation. And we as designers have to have visibility of all those factors. So in design now, we're using AI extensively to design buildings that are efficient, that have good orientation in terms of sun path and wind, best aspect for daylight, which obviously has a knock-on effect on well-being of buildings. In construction, we're exploring all the time the different options for mass manufacture and off-site manufacture to make things quicker and more cost efficient. And I do think the solution for building more and more residential buildings in the UK is to be much better at doing that, because the traditional way of building is now too expensive, and we have to really explore the different options of building different ways with different techniques. And then in operation, we're obviously trying to make buildings more affordable in operation, and the only way to do that is to understand how the buildings are managed, how the agents and the students want to integrate with their building. And one of the best things about coming this weekend is not only to celebrate the 10 years of the Londonist, but also to hear about what's going on in the digital and virtual world, because it has a really direct impact on how we design at front end.
And how about artificial intelligence, speaking of technology? How do you think that that's going to take part in the industry?
It's a really tricky one, actually, because I think things are happening very quickly now, and we have to be on top of it, and we have to really embrace it. I do think there is a place for it, and I do think it's making things much more efficient for us. And for example, Hannah, we went to the same thing a couple of weeks ago where there was an example of an M&E design which would normally take 9 months to design, took a day. So AI can make things much more efficient, and then it leaves us with much more time to do the more important things. So the mundane, data-driven exercises, I think AI definitely has a place for that. And I don't believe in any way it's going to take over. I think we should embrace it and make it work for us.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very, very much. So lastly, I would like to pass the microphone to dear Umang, since he is the executive director of a very technology-oriented company, Londonist DMC. So first, I would like to hear in a very brief of what you do in terms of technology in the company, very quick. Although Mr. Alsam mentioned, I'm sure you would like to mention a couple of things that you do, and also how you see the effect of technology in the industry.
Yeah, thank you. I think as everyone always has technology on their mind, I think you guys have seen in Asim-based presentation, actually technology is kind of the forefront of our business, and we see technology being the future of the business. If I start on the student portal, as I said, we've already been using that for 6 months. And when we're showing the student portal, actually, everyone will say everyone's got a student portal, that's been in the industry, but if you really look at our student portal, it really is a game changer in terms of the usability and the efficiency of using it, actually. I mean, I think everyone in this marketplace is trying to add value to their business. So, for example, flight tickets, train tickets, but then students get so confused. So if you look on our student portal, it's actually extremely tailored with a lot of history and a lot of research of what students do. And then you go onto our partner portal. I think the partners are, as you see here, after 10 years, the key for our business, right? And we always having these discussions with the partners. How many bookings did we do? What's our commission? What's our student requests? So that partner portal is coming soon, and that will really be a game changer as well. And I want to talk about the Ambassador app. I think for me, personally, for example, when I'm traveling, I'm always thinking, if only I could meet like-minded business people, right? I mean, even when students come to London, we always talk about community. When the students check in, if you think about that journey, really, okay, a student's coming from, let's say, from China, they check into their room, how are they going to meet their neighbor? Or how are they going to meet other people in the building? Okay, yeah, there's community events and all these things. So with us, through our Ambassador app, of course, people got like-minded kind of hobbies, right? Some people like football, some people like music. How can we integrate a community together? So I think that technology is what we're building. Because everybody talks about it, right? Everybody says, how do we build a community? How do we bring students together from other countries? But I don't think anyone's really nailed that down. You know, everyone says we do it, there's an international mix and all these things, but actually if you really look at the industry, people just talk about it. They don't actually make action on it. So for us, through that Ambassador app, as we showed today, we are actually really trying to make that student journey seamless and for them to have a lifelong experience, you know. I think that's really, really, really key.
How about AI, artificial intelligence? How is it going to affect the business, you think?
I think AI is obviously the future of the business, you know, but I think I have to actually be contrary to everyone here, actually. I think everyone's talking about AI, but I think we still have that traditional student that wants to come to the office, for example, and book or wants to see the room. Yes, of course, everyone wants to look at the VR and everything like that, but I mean, working closely with the operations, we still get a handful of people that still want to go to the residents, view the residents. So I think AI is, of course, the future of the business. We can't doubt that. But I think it's still a gradual process. I mean, we were talking about previously ChatGPT and all these different digitalizations, but I still personally believe it's there, but it's still got a long process to go within our PBSA sector.
Thank you very much. Dear David, I think you have something to add. That's what I felt when Vicky was talking, right?
It was actually when Vicky was talking earlier, and she was mentioning about the transparency and the digitalization to help the student in terms of the search, find, and book. And she mentioned IQ, and up until 6 months ago, I led IQ's international strategy. And that's what we were exactly doing. From an operator's point of view, we wanted to make sure that the efficiencies were there. And working with marketplaces like, and we wanted to ensure that, yes, there's a hand-holding process for an international student coming over, but actually the vast majority don't need somebody to speak to sometimes. So if you've got enough information and your booking process is effective and efficient, they can book all the way through without actually talking to somebody. Now, you probably want to talk to them, but sometimes they don't want to talk to you. So you've got to respect that. So we sort of built this whole process, and we, when I say we, old IQ, but we moved our 95% of our booking process onto the website, so it was much more slicker, easier to improve, and was opened up APIs with uhomes and Amber to be able to have direct booking all the way through, and that worked really, really well, and continues to do so.
Thank you very much. So, dear speakers, we come to the end of our session. So thank you very much for your all attendees, and we're gonna continue to the day, right? Okay, wonderful. Thank you.